Glad you made it back, everybody. The state of Qatar has announced that an agreement has been reached to extend the humanitarian truce for an additional 2 days in the Gaza Strip to prepare for the release of more hostages. Israel has said the ceasefire can be extended by a day for every 10 hostages that get released. Meantime, we're seeing worldwide violence and protests from those who still believe the war is Israel's fault. Even inside Israel, support for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has declined. Survey by Channel 12 finds that Netanyahu would lose to opposition parties if elections were held today. And another Mariv newspaper poll shows 80% of Israelis, believe Netanyahu should publicly accept responsibility for the failures that led to the devastating October 7th attacks, despite only having been returned to power 10 months before the attack. There were similar calls from the far left against President George W. Bush after America endured 9/11, 9 months after Bush took office. Joining me now is spokesperson for the Israeli Prime Minister's office, Tal Heinrich. Tal, it's good to see you again. I'm concerned. I'm very concerned about how Israel's enemies have successfully turned the focus to Israel's response to Hamas and away from the horrors the Jewish people suffered at the hands of Hamas. Support even inside Israel appears to be waning. Why is this happening?
Well, some people are lacking moral clarity right now, Chris, unfortunately. But you see, we are not fighting this war for likes on social media, for hugs from protesters, for more handshakes at the United Nations corridors. Not at all. We're fighting a war for our survival. On October 7th, Hamas death squads just ravaged through our southern communities. They raped, they butchered, they dismembered, they abducted people. We are fighting for our survival. It's an existential threat. And as a nation, we took this decision, and trust us when we say it. We know what it takes to survive in this neighborhood. We've been around for some more than 3,000 years, the Jewish people in our ancestral homeland. And the story of the Jewish people in the land of Israel does not end on October 7th. We are united, and we will complete the mission. We will bring back our sons and daughters, the elderly, the ones who are still in Gaza today. And we will also complete the other mission of eliminating the Hamas terrorist regime. We took this decision that we can no longer live next to these terrorist monsters.
Well, let me give you some headlines that are out there that the other side is using to bash Israel, as they typically do. New report from the Jerusalem Post claims Prime Minister Netanyahu has promised Israel will not assassinate Hamas leaders in Qatar after reports said that order had been given. Meanwhile, Israel's enemies focus on non-militant casualties, as you know, brought on by Hamas hiding among the population that elected them. And critics use this to claim that Israel is targeting civilians because the government isn't touting Hamas leadership casualties. Can you set the record straight? How many Hamas terror leaders has Israel taken off the board since the war began?
It's in the thousands, Chris, in the thousands. Also, we should take with a huge grain of salt any kind of report, any kind of number coming out of the Gaza Strip. Like you wouldn't take anything coming out of North Korea at face value. Hamas is controlling the Gaza Strip. Hamas is the same brutal terrorist organization that perpetrated the October 7th massacre, the same organization that says openly that they want to do it again and again and again. The same organization who openly say that they want to sacrifice the Palestinian population of Gaza for their sick goal of obliterating the Jewish state. We will never let that happen. Now, some people, again, are lacking moral clarity, and when they put pressure on Israel, they are actually serving in one way or another as apologists for Hamas, because they're doing exactly what Hamas wants them to do. Hamas knows that we are not targeting civilians. How do they know, Chris? Because they're hiding inside and underneath civilian population, because they know that Israel is doing everything humanly possible not to harm civilians.
Back here in the United States, there's something I was just talking with Senator Ted Cruz about. A Jewish professor at the University of Southern California is now being barred from that campus after he said that terrorists, quote, should be killed. Meantime, anti-Semitic pro-Hamas demonstrations, some of them turning violent, are spreading across many universities in this country and around Europe and other left-wing bastions unchecked. Now, I've said this is a symptom of multiculturalism, a self-inflicted wound the West has served upon itself. What do you think is going on here?
I think that we need moral clarity right now, that we can not let terrorists get away with what they did on October 7th. And people also tend to forget. I think it's a bit of an overlooked aspect. Israeli communities have been targeted by more than 11,000 rockets since October 7th. This, it's an ongoing situation. It's been like that for what, 16 years since Hamas has been in power. We've been bombarded with their rockets time and again. But that's it. We said that this is the last round. We're not going to degrade Hamas or deter Hamas or contain Hamas. We're done. We are going to be safe. The Israeli civilians are going to be safe, and we hope that this will also bring new opportunities for the people of Gaza, those who do not support Hamas, those who don't think that a Jewish state should not exist between the river and the sea. We hope that once Hamas is eliminated, maybe, there could be a fresh start. Maybe more pragmatic voices can take the leadership there, and we'll see. Yeah. But again, it's a time for moral clarity, and we're seeking accountability. That's what we're seeking.
And cutting off their support from the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, Iran, might help matters too. Tal Heinrich, thank you very much. Appreciate the time. Stay safe out there. Still ahead, new scenes